Republican Representative Dana Rohrabacher is now accusing his own constituents of engaging in political thuggery. Thuggery. Now, let me give you some context on this. Representative Rohrabacher had been recently targeted by progressive groups. And basically what they've been doing is they've been coming to his office and protesting and leaving Valentine's cards. Now, these Valentine cards are basically people saying, why don't we, and they come up with little fancy rhymes and stuff like that. But basically what they're asking is, let's have a town hall. Let's go and discuss the issues of the day. And of course, Rohrabacher's like, what kind of thugs want to meet with their representatives to air their grievances? No, not, you know what? Thugs. They're all thugs. Paid thugs. I'll get to that in a minute, but let me show you an example of one of the cards. One of the protesters has actually been leaving Representative Rohrabacher. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? Dana just met with Marie Le Pen in France. When will he meet with the constituents in Costa Mesa? Oh my God. Such thuggish behavior. So unreasonable demands. Give me a break. Now, of course, if you ask Rohrabacher, he will say that, no. They're thugs. They're Soros-funded thugs. So ignore them. In fact, earlier this week, he bases that whole thug thing off an incident involving a 2-year-old girl. Now, during one of these protests, they were all outside of his office, and what happened is that this young girl slid a Valentine under the door on Tuesday. One of the staffers opened it, hit her in the head, knocking her down. Now, look, there's a lot of fault, there's a lot of blame going on around this, right? Some of the protesters saying, hey, look, you should have seen that she was outside. You do have cameras in there. And, of course, his staff says, no. You shouldn't be there in the first place because you're causing problems. Again, I think that they are just doing their constitutional right of being able to protest the government. That is their First Amendment right, to gather and protest peacefully. Now, of course, Rohrabacher's office says, no, what happened is that, yes, one of our staffers did hit the door, but it was their fault. But also one of the protesters made one of my staffers fall down and hit her head. And she had to go to the hospital. Thugs. They're thugs. Oh, boy. Now, in a video of the immediate aftermath of this thing, the girl could be here crying, of course, as visiting constituents apologized. And one of them had helped Rohrabacher's staffer, who was knocked down by that door, basically helped her back up. Hey, I'm sorry, man. We don't want anybody to get hurt. And that's what the protesters are saying. We didn't want anybody to get hurt. This wasn't a violent protest. This was a Valentine, and it was a mix-up. Okay. So the doors closed, and the group leaves. Now, when the mother of the young girl told a local reporter, I don't think anybody from either side was trying to hurt anybody. And I agree with that. I don't see any reason, there's no reason for any sort of violence, for knocking people over, and it's counterproductive. So, of course, neither side is interested in doing that. But, of course, Rohrabacher's office is going to use that as an excuse. Now, interestingly enough, just to show you how dangerous this crowd is, and, that Rohrabacher says is dangerous, but actually isn't, I'm going to show you a picture of what the crowd looks like after they're outside of Rohrabacher's office. If you can take a look at this. So dangerous looking. Most of that crowd is old ladies. Come on, man. You're getting scared of old ladies? Little old ladies. And a 2-year-old. Fascinating. But in his press release, Rohrabacher says this incident was malicious and says that these activists are an unruly mob of thugs. He said, quote, I am outraged beyond words that protesters who mobbed my Huntington Beach office violently knocked down my faithful district director, Kathleen Staunton, causing her to be hospitalized. Though the protesters think themselves as idealists, they engage in a political thuggery, pure and simple. These people do not want, as they've claimed, to hold a town hall meeting with me. These are unruly activists on whom the lessons of civility and democratic participation have been lost. These holier-than-thou obstructionists will be held responsible for this outrageous assault. They are exposing themselves for what they are, enemies of American self-government and democracy. Now, again, let me show you a picture of these ladies. That's your unruly mob. Those are the people that are enemies of American self-government and democracy. Look, man, democracy. Now, you say that word, but I don't think you know what that actually means. Look, this is another example of protests working. People get together, they do peaceful protest, and the politicians look at it and go, oh, shit. Oh, my God. No, oh, my God. We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. Look, what they're doing is that they're lying about the protesters because they're running scared. They're not thugs. They're your voters. Well, maybe not your specific voters, but they're your constituents, okay? In fact, one protester told reporters that, quote, I'm here because I'm not feeling heard. And I can tell you that a lot of people are not feeling heard. And again, that's why they want, all they're doing is that they're asking for a town hall so that they can talk with their politician and they can express themselves. That is the First Amendment. That is being able to petition your government. No, he doesn't want to do them. No. Instead, the guy's like, they're not my constituents. They're not mine. They're thugs. If they were, I'd have to listen to them and not my donors. Can't have that. Don't want to do that. In fact, in local media 2 weeks ago, his staff characterized the visitors as, quote, purposely disruptive and out of district. Not my constituents, man. Not my problem. Again, not true. Look, this is a Republican narrative, right? This is what they're using. They're saying, and I'm going to give you some examples of this. They're all saying that these protesters, they're not actual real protesters. They're paid to be protesters. This is an AstroTurf movement funded by big Democratic donors. Well, let me tell you, I did a similar story where Democrats, safe Democrats, people like Joe Manchin, are also running scared because they're afraid their protests are going to come to their town halls. Oh, man, I don't want that. I don't want that. If it's a Democratic effort, they're doing it wrong. Because, again, the Democrats are also afraid of these protests. But, again, they're saying, no, all these protests are fake. Everybody loves Republican rule. Everybody loves Donald Trump. It's those leftists are getting paid. The Women's March was fake. And all these people, they're just thugs for hire. Look, hey, man, I know people are looking for work out there, but Jesus Christ. No. That's the whole paid thing. Bullshit. There's no proof of it. Now, I've got more from Republicans. In Tennessee, Representative John Duncan said he wouldn't hold town halls for fear of, quote, extremists, kooks, and radicals. In Utah, Representative Jason Chaffetz dismissed a particularly raucous town hall as, quote, more of a paid attempt to bully and intimidate. In Illinois, Representative Peter Roskam snuck out the back door to avoid protesters. Oh, no, just back door. I got to get out that back door. We got a back door? But I'm just going to slip out here. See you guys later. That's what's going on here. He's sneaking out the back door. And a spokesman characterized the protesters as, quote, national groups as opposed to local constituents. Again, they're not my protesters. They're not my constituents, or else I'd actually have to listen to them. We don't want to do that. In fact, Chaffetz says that paid protesters are hounding him. However, reporters haven't been able to find a single example of a paid protester. Why? Because they don't exist. At least not on our side. Earlier this week also, Representative Darrell Issa said, quote, of the Democrats, these are the people who brought in anarchists to destroy this town, of whom 240 some were arrested with the support of George Soros and the Democrat left. This is not a cooperative environment. And of course, he said that to the Boston Herald Radio. George Soros, man. Always comes back. He's like the boogeyman. Like, boo! George Soros. George Soros. Coming for you. Ridiculous. There's no evidence. And look, he wants to say, well, either they're paid protesters or they're paid radicals who are there to do violent extremism. Really? Well, there's no evidence that most protesters are violent either. Look, there has been instances of violence, of course, in some places, in some protests. Look, we don't deny that at all. Were they part of us? Were they? I don't know. By definition, though, progressives don't use violence. If you use violence, you're not actually a progressive. You're not actually a liberal, because you know what? We can achieve our goals without being violent, without wrecking storefronts. Besides, what kind of liberal breaks a window to a Starbucks? I thought we're all supposed to be, Starbucks loving, lotto swilling, I don't know. Seriously. And look, to point to recent protests as well, you had the Women's March, which was 100% peaceful. There was no arrests. That's how to peacefully protest right there. So I don't believe, and this is backed up by evidence. I don't believe that there is just this massive paid violent protest going on. It's complete bullshit. And look, when they have to go and make shit up like this, it really shows how scared these politicians are. And again, I mentioned that the Democrats are scared, which I think is fantastic. All of our politicians should be scared of people power. They should be scared of us. And look, it's high time that we take the government back to the people and away from the politicians and the corporations that fund them. As long as we can do these peaceful protests, man, I am 100% in favor. Let's keep going. Let's keep making our politicians afraid of us instead of us being afraid of them. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.